to attack the throat. So if I form my hand into a ginger fist and slide it right up underneath, I can still attack the throat with just a little bit of room to get in underneath. Now the Jinbok Gumjang motion, which is a simultaneous shoulder block and low palm edge attack, can be used as follows. From the Bong Sao position, I can drop to the low line with a trap and attack the body with a low chop. Now that same motion could be used to attack the elbow joint here. So not only am I getting my low strike in, but I'm also using my turning shoulder to go against my opponent's joint. Now if Ricardo had, for example, tried to, from his own Bong Sao position, lop and chop me, from my Wu Sao, I can also use Jinbok to break that joint. Alright, another way of using the Jinbok motion as an emergency block would be if both my hands were unavailable to block and I needed to quickly block, as in the case when Ricardo uses the double Pak Sao motion to trap and hit me. So I used my shoulder to knock his hand off the line. Now it's by no means the best block in the world, but sometimes it's all you have. At speed, that's going to look like this. Another way of using the Jinbok is as a shoulder butt follow-up to a headbutt attack. So if, for example, I had come in and attacked the throat and went in with a headbutt, I can keep that neck trap and throw my hand back and use my shoulder to attack the head. So at speed, that's going to look like this. All right, the next motion is the Tan Pak Sao motion, which looks like a simultaneous Tan and Pak Sao, but actually is executed with offset timing. It goes Tan Pak, but it happens so quick they look simultaneous. But that's why it's called Tan Pak Sao, because the Tan comes before the Pak. It's not called Pak Tan Sao. Now in application, I'm not going to use the Tan Pak Sao to simultaneously double-handed block against a single punch. That would go against Wing Chun's economy of motion theory. But instead, what I'd rather do is go Tan, Pak, immediately following the Tan with a Pak Sao that takes over the trapping duty. Now that could then translate to become Tanda Pak. All right? Next, we're going to talk about the Tan Sut motion, which is also called Tan Gyuk. Now, it's got a similarity to the Tan Sao motion. You see the structure is the same. The bend here matches the bend there. And it's used in a similar way. Now, when Ricardo's round kick comes toward my kidney area, I can lift and use Tan Gyuk to stop it, immediately going in to kick the base leg. So at speed, that's going to look like this. Okay, similarly, the same motion can be used against the Tiu Gyuk, or the outward instep kick. So as Ricardo attempts to kick at my ribs, I can bring up the Tan Gyuk to stop that, go straight into a shadowless leg kick, and then plant trap hit. So at speed, that's going to look like this. All right, next is the Wu Sao, which is the guarding hand. And it's used quite often by Wing Chun practitioners as a second line of defense. Now, after a jab, which Ricardo stops with his own Bong Sao and follows up with Lap Fun, Wu Sao helps me cut into the oncoming blow at a 45-degree angle, and I'm able to really get some snap out of my wrist here and pop right up against the attack. So at speed, that's going to look like this. All right, the Wu Sao hand is used to back up motions like Bong Sao, or actually any motion that you do that involves a single hand should have a Wu Sao backing it up. Now, when we use it as a backup, it's held in reserve directly behind the motion that's blocking. But when it actually comes into play, it snaps out directly in front of my self-center line in a 45-degree angle to the oncoming attack. So Wu Sao is held in reserve until it's needed, at which point it moves out at a 45-degree angle to the center line. All right, next is the Ngoi Chet Gyuk, or outside jerking leg motion. Now I can use it to break down my opponent's stance. For example, after having stopped the cross and then coming in with my own kick, jumping into a knee attack, I can use the descent of my leg to break down my opponent's stance by snapping against the hock of the knee. Right? At speed, that's going to look like this. All right, another application for the Jet Gyuk leg can be after I've kicked Ricardo, when my leg is up, sometimes the opponent will try and kick at your base leg. So he'd kick your stance out from under you. This is what he'd like to do to me. Now, what I'm going to do in order to stop that is, from my kick position, as he attempts to kick my leg, I use jet gyuk to stop his kick. So, at speed, that's going to look like this. All right, next is the Thai set raising knee motion. Now, obviously, we use the raising knee strike to attack when we can pull the opponent's head down. Another way of using it is what we call mo yin gyuk, or invisible kick. After I've kicked, I can skip in without putting the foot down and drive my knee into the opponent's body. Another application for the Thai set, which is not seen quite as often, is as a raising block against a round kick to the chest area. I can go right up underneath my opponent's knee and knock him off his stance. All right, next, the hammer fist. Now it can be used as it's shown in the form here with the Gung style structure to attack on the low line, or it can be substituted anywhere you could use a chop. So in place of a fun sao chop, you can close the fist and hammer fist. In place of a chang jiang chop, you could close the fist and hammer fist. And you notice that my thumb is on top of my fist. When you throw a regular punch, you keep your thumb wrapped across the front because the pressure against your knuckles wants them to collapse inward. So you support it here. But when you hit with a hammer fist, you support from the top because the pressure on your knuckles wants them to collapse upward. So you brace it from the top. All right, another application for the hammer fist motion can be downwards. For example, after Ricardo's initial jab, what I can do is come in with the Bujong, trap and chop, become a neck trap, and pull him down, exposing the spine to the hammer fist attack. So at speed, that's going to look like this. All right, now the Hyun Da Gum Jang attack with kick. If Ricardo's lead jab comes in, I can pivot in with the jam, immediately converting that to Hyun, opening the low line to a hit kick combination. So at speed, that's going to look like this. Now, if the same motions are used with offset timing, I could step back and avoid a kick, scoop out, step in, hit to the low, and at the same time attack the back of the leg, destroying the stance. So at speed, it's going to look like this. All right, next is the Jeep Sao motion. So after a successful jam, lot fun attack, I can receive the oncoming punch with the Jeep Sao motion to hyperextend the arm. So at speed, that's going to look like this. All right, another application for that same motion could be after a successful Tanda Changdai Jang attack, I can slip up, trap the shoulder, and use the Chang Jang. So I have a combination of the two motions, just like Jeep Sao. Now, at speed, that's going to look like this. Okay, now the back bracing Bong Sao motion. If I sense that my opponent's putting a lot of forward energy and forward stance motion into his jab, I can sort of relieve the pressure created by his forward stance motion by backing up into a back braced Bong position while executing the block. So at speed, it would look like this. All right, next is the Che Sao motion, which is also called Gum Jang, or pressing the elbow. Now, after a Bong Sao block of the cross, I can go into a simultaneous grab and press of the elbow into a hyperextension while kicking. So that would be the application directly of the dummy motion. Now, I can also apply that chase out without the kick, just as going into an armbar. So here I could just apply pressure, making him go down, then I might follow up. Now, another way of using the chase out is to pull the opponent diagonally across. So from the same situation after the bong, I can pull him diagonally with the chase out motion and attack to either direction. Right now we're going into an application of the sweep kick. So, for example, after a successful yet foot yi type of a motion, even if Ricardo stops my shot here and I trap, I can use my front leg to sweep his leg out from under him, which can destroy his stance. So at speed, it would look like this. All right, an application for the leg hook could be if I was starting to lose my balance after my opponent pushed me, I can hook on to his stance and regain my balance. So at speed, it looked like this. All right, from sticky foot, we can also use this motion as a hook to open the opponent's leg. If he tries to kick my base leg, I can sweep him out, kick his base leg. So once again, when he tries to kick my base leg, I sweep him open and then I can kick out. All right, next we're going to show chop Chun as a leakage attack from two different positions. It's called a leakage attack because the opponent thinks he has the center line covered, but with a subtle manipulation of my arm that changes the line, I can still leak in. So he feels he's got it all plugged up, but all of a sudden the attack still leaks in. Now, when I come in with my uppercut and Ricardo stops it with the jam sao, which is well structured, all I need to do is raise my elbow and that opens the line down low for the chop Chun to come in. Now similarly, if Ricardo uses a well-structured bong sao to stop my jab, I can then leak in and retrap and hit. So what happened here was I used my own raise of the elbow, bong counters bong, to drop in through the gap and then come on in. So remember, when your opponent is in a well-structured position, take a leak on him. All right, next is the diagonal punch, which when executed without a partner looks like a hook punch, but it's actually applied differently than a hook punch. When it's used is when your opponent is facing your side. So what you're actually doing is a straight punch, but that straight punch is traveling diagonally across your chest. So it has the illusion of a hook, but actually it's still a straight punch, with the knuckles turned about 45 degrees in relation to the floor to keep that bone alignment steady. All right, another way of using this motion is, for example, after the Chum Q arm break, I can press down the front hand and come over the top with the diagonal punch. All right, next we're going into the tanda gangda motion. So I can go from one tanda to the next gangda. When Ricardo gives me the high jab on the high line, I'm here. And when the low one comes, I can then sweep down and simultaneously block and hit. So I'll be capitalizing on his own power plus mine. So at speed, it's going to look like this. Tanda gangda. All right, another way of using the tanda as a double attack with an iron palm strike would be after using the bong to stop the first one, rather than using the tan to block, the pak could stop that, paving the way for the tan to come in as a strike, followed by a punch. But it would happen almost simultaneously. So at speed, it would be here. Alright, the Siang Ma Bong Sao motion allows me to step forward into the outside when he jabs to get an improved angle of facing, which allows me